it is time, and to be available to have lunch anytime, then we'll start now. Itshak Sade will talk about the pollen quality on Homo terrestris, and actually that's very important for me too, because we are running an experiment and it's a time. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody, and let's get ready to bumble! Let's begin. So, millions of bumblebee colonies are grown every year in factories, and we will be working with factories in this research. And hundreds of thousands are only grown in Israel, and they are being sold to farmers around the world. This is how commercialized hive look like, and this is how it looks like on the inside. Bumblebee, for anybody who doesn't know, it's a social bee, like a bit more primitive than honeybees. So pollen serves as the primary source of protein for bumblebees in these factories. It is mostly the only thing that goes in and out, as the factories are very clean to avoid the epidemics and such. This is a very pollenish bumblebee, and the pollen is collected by honeybees and may carry pathogens such as viruses, which I will be working with in this experiment. And gamma irradiation is a widely used method to sterilize pollen from pathogens, sorry. And these are the two viruses that I will be working with, which are transmitted through honeybees to the pollen and from the pollen to the bumblebees. IAPV is the acute paralysis virus, and DWV, the four-winged virus. My research probably begins with the bees collecting the pollen in the field, pollen and nectar, and then they transmit the viruses to the pollen, which we use to feed the bumblebees in the factories. We don't want that to happen because there will be an epidemic in the factory. And so we want to suppress the virus from spreading. How do we do it? We gamma irradiate the pollen. The gamma irradiation is killing the bacteria, but it's also killing the viruses, of course. The research question that I have for this experiment is: what is the impact of gamma irradiation of pollen on the development and physiological state of Homo terrestris colonies? And my first hypothesis is that it will do nothing. They will survive, and everything will be as it is. And the other one, that they will impact the colony development, mostly for the negative. And the objective is to assess the effect of gamma irradiated pollen on the development and physiological state of the bumblebee colony. So I have two treatments that I used. First, I irradiated the pollen in two levels of gamma irradiations. The units is kilogram. The first treatment is no irradiation at all, means that the pollen still may carry some pathogens, probably will. And we irradiated in 10 kilogram and 20 kilogram strengths of the unit of gamma irradiation. The second thing that we did is we repeated this experiment 3 times. One time, 1 month after purchasing the pollen in June 2023. Second time, 4 months after purchasing the pollen in September 2023. And the third time, 10 months after purchasing the pollen in April 2024. The only thing that changed is the amount of time that the pollen was in the fridge, essentially. So treatment number 1 will be called irradiation strength, and treatment number 2 will be called pollen age, the time that the pollen stayed in the freezer, minus 20 degrees freezer. How did we introduce the experiment? We first reared the bumblebees. Here you can see the macro colonies that we purchased from the factory. Here you can see the micro colonies, which I reared for the experiment. Each of these micro colonies, as you can see here, has sugar water and pollen. The sugar water rises through the it's actually cigarette filter. And it rises through the force of capillarity, and the bumblebees can drink as much as they want. And we have 3 one-day-old bumblebees in each of them. In each experiment, we had 30 colonies, 30 microcolonies in total, 10 for the control group, 10 for the 10 kilogram group, and 10 for the 20 kilogram group. And as I mentioned before, we did the experiment 3 times. What very important mention is this is a masculine microcolony. It means that we have 3 female bees that are fighting for aggression, and the one that is the most dominant will be reproducing. In the first week, they start laying, the dominant female start laying the eggs, as we'll be talking about in a minute. So we feed them pollen cakes. What is a pollen cake? It's a cake made of 90% pollen and 10% sugar water. We mix it all together, mash it, homogenize it, and we feed it to the bubbles. This is how we look at the fixation. Here you can see the pollen, the sugar water. Afterwards, we collected 35 days after we started the research, exactly 5 weeks. We freeze the colonies, and it's quite unfortunate. And then we collect the data. What is the data that we collected? We collect the amount of eggs laid, amount of larvae, amount of pupa, and the amount of males. And also, we measure their size, as I will mention. So after a week, we want to compare the amount of pollen consumed to the amount of eggs laid to see the difference in the treatments. This is how it looks like in the first experiment. You can see that in the first experiment that I did, they laid their eggs on the pollen. So we had to measure it together, and we evolved to this version where we feed them from the side so they can't lay eggs on the pollen itself. And number of males after 35 days, and the male size. To the results, we have the amount of pollen consumed. This is the first experiment. In the lower x-axis, we will always have the treatment, and in the top x-axis, we have the pollen age. On the left side, as you can see, there's the first experiment. Here we will show in a minute the second experiment and the third. On the y-axis is the amount of pollen consumed in the first week in grams. So we can see that there is no significant difference. Just as a hint for that the 20 kilogram might eat more. And as we see, 4 months after purchasing the pollen, the amount of 20 kilograms didn't really increase really slightly. But 10 months after the pollen was in the fridge, we can see that there's a big rise in the pollen consumed, especially in between 20 kilograms. And there's a significant difference when I tested specifically the pollen age. We can see a significant difference between the first experiment and the 2 others in green. So pollen consumption increased over time, particularly with 20 kilogram irradiation, suggesting colonies may compensate for reduced nutritional value in H. pollen. The second thing I did is measuring the amount of eggs laid in the first week. So the y-axis is representing the amount of eggs laid. Here we can see that there is not really significant difference. Only the amount of eggs laid in the control is slightly lower. But well, we can see there is not really a huge significant difference here. But we can see a trend of the 20 kilogram, the irradiated pollen, the 10 kilogram and the 20 kilogram treatments being slightly lower. So we can deduce that the number of eggs laid appear to decrease over time, particularly with 20 kilogram irradiated pollen, suggesting that the nutritional decline in the pollen impacts productive success, reproductive success. Here we have 2 y-axes, males per egg and male quantity. This is the first experiment. Again, these are the 2 others. So we can see a trend that is going on in the first experiment. When the pollen is fresh, we have more or less a balanced amount of males and males per egg. But as we go on 4 months, and especially 10 months later, we can see a huge decrease in the amount of eggs laid and the amount of males after 35 days, meaning that the pollen is getting damaged during the time that the colony feeds also. So male production and reproductive efficiency. seem affected by pollen irradiation with 20 kilograms pollen potential reductions in both male quantity and males per acre. This graph will be showing the male size of the bee. How did I measure the male size of the bees? The size of the marginal cell. This is the marginal cell, you can see it there. And this is like a normal phenomenon. We put it under a binocular. It's very common in bee science. And this is how we compare the size. Thank you. So we can see in the first experiment that there's no change at all, but a slight trend of getting lower in the irradiated pollen, meaning that as the pollen gets older and ages, the irradiated pollen really affects also the male size. Conclusions will be, first for the pollen. Pollen consumption increased during the runs, particularly with 20 kilogram irradiation, possibly compensating for reduced nutrition. We don't really know what it is. It might be an amino acid, it might be a fatty acid, but we're not certain. This will be a thing for the future to check. Regarding the number of eggs in the first week, it is indicating that irradiated pollen should not be used long term, as the nutritional value declines over time, especially at the 20 kilogram. The higher that you irradiate your pollen, the strength of the gamma rays, the lower the time that you will be able to use this pollen. And the decrease in male size suggests that the pollen negatively affects male size, not drastically, but you can see the trend. And last but not least, that pollen irradiation leads to a decline in pollen quality over time. A future direction that I wanted to mention is that we should check the pollen chemically, the compounds that are going wrong in the beginning when we purchase the pollen, and during the time in the fridge when it's irradiated or when it's not, so we could have like a perfect solution for this. There is no perfect solution, but an equation of how to make it more efficient, the use of the pollen. For us and for the bumblebees. Thank you everybody for listening and for coming. Special thanks to Victoria Soroka's lab members, Jan Mandelik's lab members, Chagai Spiegel's lab members, and special thanks to Itshak Sade Eurobee10 and Elad Orda. I was Itzik. Thank you all.
No, we have 2.5 minute questions. I would have more questions, but actually these are very detailed, including the larval growth. Have you made the larval experiments also?
I actually did, but it wasn't, I didn't get any significant results, so I didn't present it. This is the honest truth. Also, larval, I combined the amount of larval and pupa together, and there was a trend also for the control having a higher number at the end. But like for time reasons, I used these. I presented only these for results.
This was very very technical, and I think you would be happy if somebody has later questions to contact you to get experiences.
For sure. We need to keep my contact.
And all the emails are present in abstract book, which is in webpage available already, and will be available in Eurobee webpage forever, I hope.
I hope you enjoyed it, some of you learned. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.